Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Rhyme of the Times for the weekend in 1st of August 2026. Big Labour poll progression as the new PM keeps pressing to make a refreshing impression. Reform enraged by Polanski's indiscretion. Zelensky escapes domestic tension to meet Burnham for their first session. Infantino forced to make a huge concession after his procedural transgression. An undertaker who behaved beyond comprehension receives a 20-year lesson. Oddie gets God's blessin for a beautiful life dogged with depression. Andy seems to have hit the ground running. Compared with Keir's start, it's been quite stunning. Already the Burnham bounce has resulted in Labour's poll ratings being catapulted. A most spectacular case of tables turning. Labour now tied with Reform after 1 week of Burnham. On Monday, Andy's focus was on all things pertaining to those not in education, employment or training. Trying to change the mindset, change behaviour, invest in success, not pay for failure. Dispense with Blair's university obsession, give more kudos to the tradesman's profession. From 14 years old, kids will choose a route to suit their skills and interests and character to boot. Elsewhere, Nigel Farage had been slightly hurt by a reposted image of a t-shirt. On the shirt was depicted a guillotine, reposted by the leader of the Greens. "We're making plans for Nigel," was the caption. Nigel wasn't amused and wanted police action. It's perhaps understandable how irked he'd become in view of the recent murder of Anne Widdecombe. But after some thought, the Met didn't get involved, so the matter for reform remains unresolved. While Farage and Polanski fought like cat and dog, the three other main parties were in dialogue. In his spirit of collaboration, the new PM on Wednesday invited the Tories and Lib Dems to discuss the knotty affair of social care and how and by whom it's to be paid to make it fair. Most people would say Zelensky's played a blinder in the way he's led Ukraine against the meat grinder. With reserves of pluck and by not passing the buck, there's been barely a call he's got wrong or ducked. Even Trump has warmed to the leader of Ukraine, which makes the last 2 weeks so hard to explain. Just when Ukraine started winning the war, a massive own goal by Zelensky was scored. He thought that Ukraine would be better off if he sacked his defence chief, Mikhailo Fedorov. Fedorov had fallen out with Ukraine's army chief, but Alexander Syrsky kept hold of his brief. It sounds insane, but the people of Ukraine risked drones and bombs to go on the streets to complain. Of Commander Syrsky, they were not a fan and clearly felt Zelensky had binned the wrong man. So the Ukrainian leader had Syrsky sacked, but Fedorov hasn't yet been persuaded back. So it was probably with some relief on Monday that Zelensky was able to fly to the UK. Andy Burnham gave him that opportunity when he made him his first foreign guest at number 10. While Trump liked hosting the great World Cup Beano and getting jiggy with Gianni Infantino, his mind was whirring, but it seems not on soccer, but on the game's money-making potential. Shocker. On Tuesday, Gianni announced a plan secretly hatched. FIFA's had some crass moments, but this was unmatched. A new company to be set up to run the sport. Trump's son-in-law's bro in charge. Who would have thought? Untold riches for those who choose to support, but by the end of the week he'd not got what he sought. UEFA in particular didn't sit on the fence backing a boycott of FIFA events. All 55 European federations don't want Infantino's game plan for all nations. The FIFA leader hadn't followed procedure. In terms of the room, he'd been a pretty crap reader. When he now read the room from every quarter, he saw his infantile plan was dead in the water. When 2 earthquakes hit Venezuela a month ago, the infrastructure gave way from the get-go. Whole buildings collapsed like a house of cards, reduced to tangled metal, rubble and shards. On Tuesday there was a similar-sized quake in Japan, same frantic fear as people chaotically ran. In Kumamoto, less than 40 lost their lives. In Venezuela, 5.5 thousand didn't survive. Venezuela and Japan providing a lesson. Monetary might leads to loss of life to lessen. On Friday, Robert Bush, the undertaker from hell, booked himself 20 years in a prison cell. That was the stretch the Hull Crown Court judge announced for Bush being guilty on 67 counts. From shoddy handling of bodies to ashes being lost, for the bereaves it came at great emotional cost. 500 grand trousered from funeral plans sold. Even the charitable donations Bush stole. And this case has opened the eyes of the nation to an industry with almost no regulation, nobody to check that the undertaker embodies the values expected of those dealing with bodies. No supervising body to undertake the checking of undertakers for public's sake. 20 years is a long time, Mr. Bush might say. But that's his funeral at the end of the day. Above the age of 30, there's almost nobody in Britain who wouldn't recognise Bill Oddie. With the comedy trio The Goodies, he found fame. Then on nature programmes, even more of a name. With his warm, jolly outlook, he managed to hide the demons he often battled inside. Bill Oddie at the weekend, aged 85.